welcome to the very first episode of Steeltoe Office Hours. I'm Layla and this is Hananiel. Hello, Hananiel. How are you
Hi,
today?
Layla. I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, so I am on the advocacy team here at VMware Tanzu, which we probably need to explain as well why I'm saying VMware when we're talking about Steeltoe. So Steeltoe is an open source project owned by VMware. And so Hananiel and I both work at VMware, and I work for General.NET Advocacy. And Hananiel, you work on the Steeltoe team, don't you?
Yep, absolutely.
And what do you do generally? What does a day in a Steeltoe engineer's life look like?
Yeah, we are usually making updates and changes to get update with the latest versions of open source tools. And a lot of what we do is help people adopt other open source technology. That's a big part of what we do, in addition to doing some custom things for VMware and VMware's platforms, such as Tanzu. So that's split between those two parts, and some of it is responding to requests for features or requests for fixing things that aren't working like they're supposed to. So that's somewhat of something that I've been focused on recently has been open telemetry with metrics and adopting the new .NET libraries that have come out from them, and the open source community. So.
Okay, so what is open telemetry for those that don't know?
Yeah, so OpenTelemetry is an open standard for instrumenting your code, whether it is platform or sorry, not platform, but application libraries such as Steeltoe, their code, or end user code. So it is shared set of specifications and shared a common way of instrumenting what they call the three pillars of observability: metrics, traces, and logs, and looking at them at a unified pane of glass. And the whole objective is, of course, to maintain your applications easily in production, especially when you have uh, multi-process things, such as things running on Kubernetes and so
Yeah.
forth. So where diagnosing problems becomes really difficult compared to either a monolithic app or something else. So this can really help you diagnose your problems and get to the bottom of it. So.
And I guess it's standardized. So anyone coming to that, or, is that you're building on top of open telemetry
Yeah.
as another tool coming in, a standard tool that lots of other projects will use. So the tooling will be familiar.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, broadly, there's three aspects to it. One is you want to instrument interesting events, whether it's application level or even business level events like orders placed or carts abandoned or whatever your particular vertical happens to be. So that's one part of it, the instrumentation. Then
Yeah.
you need to aggregate that, and then you need to push it into a format where something else can read it, such as an open source tool like Grafana or VMware's Wavefront, and so on. So
And
that's a
that would be for like a site reliability engineer to then use or monitor or
absolutely,
support
yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
absolutely. That's something that you need standardized ways of collecting metrics so that you can manage your applications. Yes.
Yeah, because some of the applications that could be using this could be thousands of services and implementations and instances of applications and services in there. So trying to manage that and roll your own could be really troublesome, but so
Yes.
you need some way of grabbing that easily from all of the
Yes.
projects.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to look at today, isn't it? So I guess as this is episode 1, we should maybe say what Steeltoe is. And it's a library of tools that can enable developers to write better code. That's what I like to think of it as, and more easily and more quickly. And do all the things that developers working in the enterprise or working on very large scale applications need to do without having to implement all of the stuff themselves. And that's how I like to think about it, because the APIs in Steeltoe make life so easy on so many different levels, and some really complicated stuff is just simplified, and that's why it's a cool tool to work on and share and talk about, and it is open source, so anyone watching who wants to get stuck in and have a play, you are welcome to. We might be raising some issues on various things on this show, and if that's something that interests you, or you think, oh, I could fix that, then we actively encourage you to come and do that. Hananiel, there's also like a community meeting, isn't there? I think it's actually next Tuesday, which is the 14th of March, because we're live right now. So if you're watching this like in a month or so, and it's already been, but you can check out the site. I'm going to come and pop up my screen now just to show you the Steeltoe site here. So, and this is steeltoe.io if you want to go and check it out. And you can see there's lots of information on why you might like to use Steeltoe. And it's been downloaded a fair few times. 44 million is a pretty big number. And it was originally derived from Spring and sort of Spring Boot, which is where the Steeltoe comes from, isn't it, Hananiel? Steeltoe Boot. Yes. So it comes off the back of Spring, which is a framework for Java, extensively used. So there's a lot of things in Steeltoe, if you've ever worked with Spring, that would be familiar to you, but you absolutely need no Spring knowledge. I have zero Spring knowledge to use Steeltoe. It could help, but you don't need it.
Yeah, it's something that you have if you need it. A number of our customers have both Spring and .NET, and they're looking for ways to kind of manage them together. And so we provide a lot of features for that, but it's very .NET native, and the way we extend your application is very familiar to a .NET developer. For example, when a .NET developer thinks Spring, they think, oh, magical annotations and everything happening behind the scenes. What is this? And so we don't, and .NET didn't adopt it that way. So when we add extensions, we are very explicit in how we mention that you want to add Steeltoe or you want to add something else from Steeltoe, some component. But we can let you choose and get out of the way and remove it anytime you would like. But if you use it, it becomes really easy to do a few things, which we can look at in shortly.
Yeah. So we're going to start with management, which is what you were talking about with the open telemetry and allowing users to, developers to have points that their SRE, site reliability engineers, or DevOps people, whoever is watching the applications when they're live, hook in and get that live information. So it's kind of absolutely pivotal to distributed systems or systems at scale. Any system really, you need to have logging and monitoring so you know what's happening with your application. So we're going to have a look at management, and we can go to the get started here. There's a couple of things we're going to look at. Steeltoe initializer we'll come back to, and the guides will come back. But let's start with good old documentation. And if I zoom in and make this bigger, that's totally a word. No one will convince me otherwise. My mom told me that bigger is a word, so therefore it is. We can come down and click on the management tab here. And this looks really overwhelming. I will say that, oh my goodness, there are so many things in here. Like we are 7.18 down here. But all of these are endpoints. And this allows you to give like an API endpoint on a website. They're really, that's all they are really, isn't it? Yeah. So we can, if we go to using endpoints, we can see that they're called actuators. So that's going to be language that you'll come across when talking about these endpoints. And we can see them all listed here. And I think we should head on over to the Getting Started guide and check out how we use them, because I think it's, well, I know this is really simple to get a really good quick result, isn't it, Hananiel?
Yeah, I do want to clarify something just from the trail of conversation we've been having about open telemetry, that telemetry and metrics are just a small portion of the tools available under management. And you have a lot more tools for observability in management, such as your configuration or your being able to look at your current HTTP requests.
Is that this one, like this, the
Yeah,
HTTP trace? Yeah.
for example, and you can refresh your configuration, get and there's all kinds of things, but I wanted to just briefly mention that it's more than metrics and what comes under the umbrella of open telemetry. So this is not a layer on top of open telemetry. This is for example, you have things like DB migrations, which allow you to see the status of your database migrations, and all kinds of things that wouldn't normally be thought of under metrics. Of course, you're free to publish any of this data through a metrics pipeline, but this is a different way of consuming it. These are specifically web endpoints that you would consume, and you can either set up your own custom clients to use this data machines or use existing tools, open source tools that are available. So that's a little bit of context and background to clarify that if it wasn't clear to someone already. Yes.
Well, I think that was really good context, Hananiel, because we're sort of saying it's built on open telemetry, but it is, but it offers a lot more in addition to that.
Yeah.
So just to dig into this environment variables, is this a way of updating environment variables, or
No,
is it just to see
it allows you to see them. It allows you to see what the environment the environment variables that are set up and the application is running in some cloud somewhere. You want to be able to see what its environment looks like. And as a developer, you don't maybe have operator access to the environment. This allows you to see those things easily. And also, there are, I should say, working for VMware, there are tools both within cloud, the Tanzu application service, which is the old Cloud Foundry, and also the newer Tanzu application platform. There are tools built into the platform that can use these endpoints to provide a unified view, a pane of glass for an application developer to manage their applications. And if you're not on these platforms, we support open source tools, such as one of them is Spring Boot Admin, which is a completely open source Java project not affiliated with VMware, that's been around forever. And it usually works obviously with Spring Boot applications, but we maintain compatibility with them. Another example of how we maintain compatibility is Microsoft, of course, provides the health checks endpoint that they allow you to configure. And there's a lot of open source tools, libraries that support the health endpoint. And with Steeltoe, we not only support all of those health endpoint registrations, we also have this concept of a health contributor and we provide some out of the box for you. So you can, when you use our library, you can get all those health checks added. And if you happen to be using the Microsoft health checks and open source tools, those show up as well. And you get a list of all the health endpoints. And we make it really easy also to use it in Kubernetes to have readiness and liveness. So those are some examples. So yeah.
That's really, really cool. And just to see how much is in here. I mean, the more you look, the more you see there's like heap dumps and everything. So I can see that there's so much in this, which must be, if you are managing a huge application, it must be really nice to have all of these endpoints. And from a developer point of view, they're really quick to put in, aren't they? So if we head over to the guides, if you want to start with anything on Steeltoe, you can head on over to the guides and have a play with those. And we're going to come down here to the management endpoints. And one of the things we want to do on this show is check that things are up to date. We might be fixing docs here. We're sort of going through things and making sure stuff is up to date. The Steeltoe team is really, really small and really busy making Steeltoe awesome. So we're just trying to do some sort of checks because documentation has to be living, and it's always hard to keep them up to date. So we're just going to be checking through. So if you're eagle-eyed and you spot like something that's out of date on the documentation and we've missed it, bang us out an issue on the GitHub repo. We'd really appreciate it. And then you're contributing to open source software as well, which is awesome. All right. Oh, look, this is going to use the initializer. I just need to cough. 1 second. There we go. All done. And I didn't deafen anybody. So this is going to use the Steeltoe initializer, which I said we would come back to. So Hananiel, go on, tell us what the Steeltoe initializer is. Shall I go to it? Shall I open it?
Yeah, let's go there. Yeah, what this is a way of generating. So you have your project and you want to use, let's say, Steeltoe management, or you want to use some of the Steeltoe project and you don't know what else is required for that. And this is something that allows you to easily generate a template. It's very like .NET New or creating a new project from Visual Studio. This is yet another way. And one of the cool feature here is, do you want to drive, Layla?
Yeah, let's go for it. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, let's kind of name it something else if you want. You can
management demo, because we're going to do a management demo. Yeah,
and we can leave the namespace the same, and then we can switch over. We can leave those defaults there. It's already on the latest in .NET 6, which is fine. We can add a dependency on management, so you can start typing management, and so you get management endpoints. Yeah, let's. So you can, as you can see, that you can add more, but for the purpose of this exercise here. So now one of the cool features that I think initializer has is you want to see what you're getting, and you don't, before you generate, download and all that, you can hit that explore button middle, and you can see your project. It takes a quick second. Yeah. And now you can see what it is exactly doing. And if you're familiar with this, you can compare it to what .NET New would do for you. And usually it's just one or two small things, like here in the program.cs on line 16, you are seeing that add dynamic console, which allows you to change your config levels. Like, for example, you're in production and you want, there's a certain component that's not behaving correctly, and it's under Steeltoe, or sorry, it's under the namespace a.b.c. You can filter the logs a.b.c and say bump that log level up to trace, and now you can see them and quickly shut it down, shut the logs down. And so that gives you better observability than trying to wade through too much logging or on setting the logs for everything. And of course, you don't have to redeploy your application. It happens live, and that's an example of something it's doing. Another example, of course, this is the older template, which we're in the process of updating the latest ones. And in the startup, you see the add all actuators, for example, which add all these management endpoints that we just looked at.
So all of them, isn't it? Yeah,
convenient way to add all of them. And and I think that's interesting. I think it's interesting that you can just view it on the web before and make any changes. Of course, I was like, oh, I want this other dependency, for example, and you can explore right here in the web UI.
Do you know what I think is cool, Hananiel, is that sometimes I create an application and I've got it on my local and I start messing around with it and then it breaks. And then I'm like, oh, where was it as a default? And quite often I go and make a .NET New and I have this folder full of like web application 7 and you know, where I go in and explore it and then I cut, but I wouldn't need to, because I can go and get my default build here and explore it without having to download it. I can just have a look and I can go and edit it, copy it, and do all of that. So, and as Hananiel said, this is on the, it doesn't use top level statements, which is absolutely perfectly valid. But if you did want to use top level statements, these services would just be on your program file under the web application builder.services. So then that would be just the same. So do you want me to download this, Hananiel, this one?
Yeah, I think it should be good to download.
Let's go.
Or either that, or we can just start with the mod or the web application sample directly. That's it. But we're in the exercise of going through the docs, so let's just continue down this path.
Yeah. So if we go back to here, it says go and get that. We got the endpoints. We've added all actuators, and then we're going to download the zip. So let's go and do that. I actually didn't know today. I didn't know about this dynamic console. So thank you. Is that something that we can see running locally, or is that something we can only see when it's in the cloud?
We can see it running locally through curl. So it'll be helpful if we had the curl commands set up to post the right JSON to the loggers. But I think if we're slightly more prepared, then we can demo that. But we can try, definitely.
We can see. We can always see. All right. So I'm going to open this up in, let's go with Visual Studio, as that's on my double click. And let me just get that in there.
That's something I noticed in the docs side, and I can just maybe create an issue or something. But it said actuators, but it's actually management now.
Okay, yes. So we've got name the project and then add the actuators. So that's a really good pickup. Have you got notes that you're adding these to?
Yeah, I am doing that right now.
Cool. And we'll see if we have time, we can go and actually go and do the PR to this. All right, so you've got that note. So do you want me to drop the link to this page? I'm going to put that in the chat for you, Hananiel, and you can grab that so you know which page it is. So I popped that in our private chat, and it was item number 3. Good spot. See, Hananiel's got his eagle eyes out, and I want everybody with their eagle eyes out. So if we go through this, we're using the Steeltoe initializer, and we've extracted the zipped project, and we're going to have a look at that. So if I go back to Visual Studio, oh my goodness, I've got so many Visual Studios open. Let me just save. These are from my work earlier. Okay, is this the one we want? Yes, management demo. Okay, I'm going to just make this a little bit smaller. Yeah, I've shrunk my screen, and I'm not used to working on I've got a wide screen, and I've shrunk it a little bit. So if we come up and bring, where are the notes? I've lost the notes. That's my calendar.
On the web notes.
Yeah, I've got are they here? No.
You have the link to it, don't you?
I do. I must have shut it down.
I do that all the time.
Let's go. Okay, so we're going back to the notes. I don't know how I lost that, but I did, so it's all right. Okay, so let's go and have a look at these instructions, and we're going to come down. So we're going to expose all endpoints in the app settings. So if I go and look in app settings.json and I show stuff here, we need to add this. Oh, no, we do need to add this, right? So I'm going to add.
So I'm kind of surprised that that's already.
I would have thought that would have been added in part of the initializer, because normally, I mean, this is just the default stuff. So have we found another thing, Hananiel? Because we need to go and put this here.
I'm double checking as we speak, make sure that you, for example, don't have the wrong project open or something.
It could happen. I am a little bit ditzy sometimes.
Oh no, I mean, it's like when you have so many sample projects you're starting, it's easy to. All right, application. Yep, you are correct, but it
All
is
right.
not there and it needs to be
Uh,
added. Yes.
Another note. See, we've already found two little bits. Dare we call them bugs, Hananiel?
Yes.
Two mini bugs.
Context maybe, and I think anybody watching this now or later can add some feedback and say, oh, we hate this, why do you have to do this? The reason the reason we have to do this is because you don't some of the actuators do expose sensitive information, and you probably don't want this available to the world outside. And so I think one of the things we do by default is say only include something not very sensitive like info and health. And
I
even
gotcha.
when it's in this restricted mode, it only shows the barest minimum details of whether it's up or down. And so by doing this, we're saying, yeah, we're okay. And because we're kind of trying to demo these things, right? So that's why we're doing this. If not, in a production environment, you have the flexibility to add security to your endpoints. Also, we have a new feature that we just recently added to expose actuators on a separate port, right? So if your host port is 8080 and all your applications are running on 8080, you say expose the management endpoints on a different port like 9090, and then you don't expose that port to the external world, and it's only for your internal application developers and operators to use. So
That
that's the
is
reason
so
why.
cool.
Yeah.
I love that. That is really awesome. Is that released yet, that feature?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
in the latest version of 3.2. Yeah. If
that
you're
is
on
really
3.2. Yeah.
so now we put this in. So just to clarify, Hananiel, this is now going to expose everything. Yeah, because we've got that wildcard star.
Yeah, this will say anything you've got, let's expose it. That's what that
Okay.
says. Yeah.
Alrighty. So we're going to fire up the app. Here it comes, and you can see it's just like any other template you'd get with .NET New. We've got Swagger in there, so we can try it out. We can execute, and you can see it behaves just like an app. But if we now go over here, and I always get this: is it actuators or actuator?
Let's try.
Actuator.
I can't remember it.
I could cheat. I'm gonna go.
Use the 100 tests with this, and I think it's
Yes.
actuator. Yes, you got it.
Yes, I got it. I thought it was singular. So you can see I hit actuator, which is like the sub part, and then everything sits under actuator. So health, and you can see it will tell you all details about it. And if this has got every actuator on it, then I guess we could go and have a look at.
So
if I
you
go,
can go to the /actuator and it'll show you everything it's got.
oh yes, I forgot about that bit. We can go in here and it's like, here they all are ready for you. So this is like almost Hateos, isn't it? This kind of thing. Go and get it, and it brings everything back. Yeah. All right, I want to have a look at this one. I guess we'd have to give that some information, wouldn't we? What can we get that wouldn't require information? What about HTTP trace?
All of them have like a get that you can hit.
Oh, okay, cool.
All of them. Yeah, you can actually, if you had like a Google Chrome, are you on Chrome?
I am in Chrome, yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a JSON extension, and if you had that, I bet it would give you a link that you can click on.
Oh, I could do this in a Postman.
You could do that too, yeah. But what I'm saying is, if you had the extension for JSON formatter, it will give you a better view of it. Is what I'm saying. But this
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, what you're doing is great.
Let's go and have a look in here. So this might give us a little bit better view of it. If I go here, and you can see, yeah, that's looking a little bit nicer, isn't it? And we can see all of them. Let me see if I can make this a little bit nicer. Let's bring that up. Let's take that way. There we go. Okay, so if I clicked on this, it's going to open a new tab, and we can go and get that, and it's formatting it for us. So what does this sort of, it gives us a whole load of stuff, and I guess if your application or your consumer was configured to look at all of this, it would just bring it all in.
Yeah, so you can see there, it's kind of like a, a, a format that that maybe you didn't specify internally, and the reason for that, it's trying to be compatible with other things that do something like this, which is other Spring Boot env actuator. And so at the very top you see that profiles, and it's kind of mapped to the .NET environment, and so it is mapped to development, for example. So
Okay.
you can see that it is running under the development profile now, which kind of maps. If you go back to your app settings.info.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Matthias is here. Dev lead. .NET 7 on its way to templates. Okay. And features rather than bugs. Okay. Hello, Matthias. Sorry I missed you. Just to address that, the templates won't get updated to .NET 7. We only do LTS versions. Isn't that right, Hananiel?
That's right. Yeah, and we're definitely, I think, working on uh, updating all of these to the latest version of the .NET templates, and making it look exactly like that, and adding Steeltoe to it. So we're
So
on the way there, but not there yet. We're working on it.
we're
Sure.
getting there.
Yeah.
And so if we go
So
and
wait,
look at
where did you see that comment, or should I be able to see that
Oh,
somewhere?
so that's on YouTube. So if you go in the private chat, the top one you had there, I'd closed it by accident. The top link there takes you to the live YouTube. And thanks for joining us, Matthias. And it's nice to have folks come in and chat and ask questions. I like that. We're going to call them features, not bugs.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got these coming in. I'm just going to have a look at a few more of these. So it's a nice way of exploring them. And you can see we've got loads of different things here. This is interesting where it's going into the weather forecast controller, and it's telling us all the different things on it. So that is quite interesting how much it gets its fingers in. So it knows the name of it, the methods on it, what it's accepting as well. So based on the
Yeah.
headers, I'm guessing that it'll
Yeah.
accept plain text or return JSON and text. So that's really interesting how much it knows about the application as well. So how does this look in more of a demo? Because this is in a more complex demo, because we have samples, don't we? If we go over to, let me open up this a little bit wider, or is there more that we should be looking at in here? If I go back to the, oh no, that's it. There we go. We finished that first guide, and that looks like that all worked apart from this bit. But let's go and see the Steeltoe samples repository. This is quite extensive, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can spend a lot of time in any one of these and dive really deep, but I think it's good to look at the broader picture of what's available, like you're doing.
So if we go and check out the management examples,
Yeah, absolutely.
what we can see is the all actuators one here. And if I go in here, we're going to see a lot of things in here. So do you want to explain what some of these extra files are for people who may be coming to the sample and not know, well, what is a CF ignore, and
Yeah.
why are there all these build packs and manifests and things in here? And that's all to do with the Cloud Foundry side of it,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. So we use the samples to make sure we didn't break anything on the different platforms, and there's a separate specific example for Cloud Foundry, specifically in the same folder, in the source folder. But in this particular example, we want to make sure that anybody using actuators outside any context, it still works within Cloud Foundry. And I think that's why we have the um, CF ignore and the build pack, for example. But we also have things like the Docker Compose that'll let you run it in Docker Compose, and have it working with, I think, Spring Boot admin also running in Docker. We can look at the Docker Compose YAML and see what's
Yeah, let's
involved
have a look.
in it.
I'm terrible with
Okay, so
YAML.
this
Okay.
one is an old example of it working with Apply View on the on Tanzu application platform. So that's what this is there for.
Okay.
Yeah,
So look who did this one.
yeah. I don't I don't remember doing this at all.
I'm sure you do loads of commits
I
on
was
this.
gonna blame Ken, who's not with us.
We could still blame Ken. He stole
Yeah,
your login.
I probably added a review to this. Yeah, and
So we get to see.
yeah, this is not going to work. So this is another something that we need to fix because
Oh,
we're going to
okay.
change the architecture of Apply View on the back end, and maybe we just need to create a separate example or
Yeah.
separate branch even. I don't know. We have to
All
sort
right.
it
Well, I dropped you a link to this actual page to go into your notes for improvements on features. All right. And if we go, let's go and check out this build pack. Now I always get confused about what a build. Oh, this one you can blame on Ken. It's okay.
Yeah.
So I always get confused about what exactly a build pack is, Hananiel. So this is for something that knows how to build the application for when it goes on to the Tanzu application platform. Is that right? It's a general thing. It's not specific to VMware. It's a general. I think there's a build
Yeah,
pack
yeah,
site.
buildbacks are a completely open source project, and you can think of them. So one of the disadvantages of using, yeah, cloud native. That's exactly the website for it. And one of the advantages of um, Docker is that anybody can specify all the layers, and the disadvantage is also that anybody can specify all the layers. So it's very hard for operations team to manage what's got included and releasing security patches. And of course, there are tools to do scanning of these images and addressing CVEs and so forth, but it's a completely different way and approach to doing the same thing. And it's basically what's behind the what is that, the haiku, right, from the Cloud Foundry founder, uh,
Yeah.
found one of the CEO, I think. Was it Rob Me? I don't know who it was, but it's like, this is my source code, run it in the cloud for me. I don't know how, something like that is how it goes. And so you don't need to know exactly how this runs. You don't worry about it. You just tell me what kind of code this is. Oh, this is .NET Core, and then you take the solution file and then you simply push it, and then the build pack figures out it's the .NET, and it figures out it's .NET Core, and figures out its version, and then the appropriate one. So it searches through a list of supported build packs and finds the right one and just runs it in Cloud Foundry. So that's what this is there for. That's kind of like the brief, probably not super accurate representation of what it is, but that's
It made sense to me, Hananiel. So what I can see then, if I come in and look at here, is that this SDK is old. So we need to upgrade this one as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop the link to you so you can pop it in your doc.
Yeah, I'll have to. My copy paste across isn't working, so I'll have to get this later. So don't close it.
I will do it. I can put it in a doc and share
I
it.
don't have I didn't have the YouTube link either because it's gone off our chat.
All right, I'm going to drop it all into. Let me just do this 1 second because I don't know where this is going to pop up. Yeah. Let me. I'm just going to drop all these links to you in Slack. There we go. So let me put my screen back up. Oh, I stopped sharing. Hang on. I clicked the wrong button. So if I share all of this, there we go. Alrighty, so we've got a Docker Compose update, build pack update. And if we go into our app settings, so we can see we've got a database in here.
Yeah, this particular example has an example of connecting to a database, and I think, yeah, and I think the weather forecast is actually maybe pulling some data out of a database. So
we've got some banging going on, so my alarm dog just went off.
oh my goodness.
Okay, so we have all of this. So this would be would this come up in that DB actuators bit? If we go back here and look at the documentation and go to
Yeah,
management.
yeah. If there is a migration that's set up to run with EF Core, then it would show up. But I don't know if this example is doing that or not.
Okay.
Take a quick look.
But if we did go and run this one and say we hit the environment variables, would that hit this
Yes.
or is
Nothing in the info actuator would actually show this. It's an information contributor, and you can see like it's just a example of
okay.
different settings.
So do you want to pull this and run it, or do you want me to? Should we have a play?
I can. I think I have it here. Yeah, I have it here. So
All
let
right.
me share my screen.
Okay. I think you might have to make it a little bit bigger.
I'm already sharing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You want okay.
Bigger. Make it bigger, Hananiel. Yay. Okay.
Not too big.
No, it's never too big.
All right. No, I think I just expanded it. I didn't actually make it bigger.
So make it bigger. Is it rider? So you can command mouse wheel or command
that's not working for me.
Open up a file and we can make it bigger from there.
Okay. Let's look at what were we looking at settings.
We were. Okay, so can you make it there? Command plus, maybe?
Let's find command. Maybe it's
command mouse wheel. It usually works on my mouse. Or
there
just yay. Okay.
Yeah, I was expecting to see the other windows. Anyway. All right, so hopefully that works for us. Okay, we're just running this right now, so let's go ahead and hit run. I have Rider. I don't normally use Rider, but since we're on this presentation and I'm on a Mac, I'm using Rider. My go-to tool of choice is Visual Studio.
I can't use Visual Studio for Mac, so when I'm on the Mac, I'm on Rider, and when I'm on the PC, I'm on Visual Studio.
Okay, what is it saying? Oh, we don't have the frameworks installed. Great.
So which frameworks is it off?
Listen, so this is just Rider being silly because I just ran this a second ago. So let's just do a .NET run here.
Okay.
Oh, you can't see my screen.
No, you'll need to share your screen rather than just the window.
Yeah.
I can take it down for you for a moment while you sort yourself out.
Oh, that's fine.
Because what did we say this project was? This project was running .NET 6 and having a look. And it's got bogus in it. Is that a testing framework? I can't remember.
What is?
Bogus. I'm trying to think what that is.
How come I cannot see? Oh, this is it. All right, so here's my other.
You got it? Alrighty.
All right, so we have
the bigger.
What's that?
You need it much bigger.
Oh, we'll just run this for now because
okay.
Looking at the source code here.
All right, it's tense moment. It's building.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I have to figure out how to get Rider to look at the correct environment for the build tools. So yeah, or I can just get a microphone and use my other computer. All right, so there it is.
It's gone. It's built. Hurrah!
Yeah, and yeah, so I guess like I'll just run it out of maybe a terminal here next time, and we can just use Rider to look at the source code. So let me switch to the other. Oh, I had to stop and then start a screen. Sorry about this, guys. Share screen.
Are you able to share your whole screen, Hananiel, or
Yeah,
do you
yeah,
need other stuff on
I
it?
can
Because
do
there's
that.
another tab, and then you won't have to keep going back and
Keep
forth.
going back and forth. Yeah,
Yeah,
do you see it?
I got it. Here we go.
Okay. Yeah. So that's anyway. So yeah, we ran it. So what do you want to look at right now?
So I'm just looking in there as well. We were going to see it running and hit those various points so we could see info. I think that would be interesting just to see what we specify in those app settings.
Yeah.
And just make sure it works so that we can go and tell folks that, yep, this one works. And we just need to do some updates and people can go and play with it. And you were saying that you thought that this one had some interesting stuff in the controller, didn't you? That it was going to go in. This one's got an employee controller. And that must be getting from a database. So does this one must have migrations in it. Must build. Let me go and have a look. It does have migrations. Interesting. So I guess if you ran EF update on this and then went to the actuator, it might show us.
Yeah, 1 second, Layla. I'm having trouble. Okay, there it is. My God.
No worries.
So here, let me bring my screen down here. So what was happening was I was getting this prompt from my computer to keep repeatedly signing in because it's an insecure website, and
Oh, I've had that on my MacBook and it made me see red.
Yes, I had to type my password like 20 times just now. So anyway, so we were looking at the DB migrations, right? Yeah. Yeah, let's look at the source code here, and we have here in the first of all, there's that nice pretty page that's generating the actuator links, and that's what.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did you get that page up? That's
Yeah.
really
So this is
nice.
something that was kind of made to make this sample look nicer. This is not something that you would actually do anywhere else, I don't think, unless you wanted to do that. But basically, there's like a MVC view and a page that's associated with this. So I think it might be the index, yeah. So you have the Steeltoe actuator. So there's some prettying up done as opposed to the JSON we were getting back. But and also so basically this is, if you didn't have access or you didn't want to run Spring Boot admin tool or something like that, this creates a sort of a client for that with that logging. So let's go look at that logging page as well.
Okay. So if someone wants to come and play with this sample, they don't need Spring Cloud, a Cloud admin, Spring Boot admin rather. They can just run this and play with it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm not sure that was working. Either that or I'm not seeing. Okay, what is the sample of this name or the namespace of this?
Let me have a look. If I go back into,
so
let me have a look in models.
Actuator services is one namespace.
Yeah, there's steeltoe.actuators.models is another.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, this isn't definitely not working like it used to. So
okay, so yay, we found another feature.
Yeah, going back to the actuators. Yeah, there's some UI pages here that we were looking at. All right. So let's go look at the controllers that I was talking about. Oh, this actually has an employee controller. I did not know that. So now we can look at the /employees. No.
Was it API /employee?
Right, yeah.
Let me have a look at what it was.
Let's look at the path that's been set up. API controller. So /API/employee should be where it's at.
Yeah. Employee, singular.
Oh, and I think
Yeah, there you go. You got it now.
yeah. Anyway, so this is definitely pulling it from the database. And what else is there here? We got here.
So did you have to run EF update to get the database to run, or
No,
is that set to
I
go
think
on
it's
the
just
program?
part of the project. So let's see, in startup maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see where this code is. So you got add DB context here,
Using SQLite, yeah.
and
So that's adding the connector for it there.
so there must
And
be
then,
another. Yeah, here.
oh, there we go.
There's
You're running it. Yeah.
migrations through code, and yeah, and so that's what was creating the database. You can see that Steeltoe Actuaries DB. I don't think that's part of the.
Ah, yes, yes. And it brings that in. So this is sort of self-contained that someone could
Yeah,
just run.
self-contained
Yeah.
example. Yeah, and so do you want to look at some other endpoints?
Yeah, let's have a look. So you ran a migration. So if we hit the migration endpoint, what would that show us?
So I think it showed. Okay, so it shows it applied the initial model create and has a timestamp, and if you later make some changes and update it, you're on mute, Layla. Sorry.
No, I'm not on mute.
Oh, there's a lag on what I'm seeing on the screen. Okay, that's fine.
Ah.
Oh, that's because I clicked on the YouTube link.
Easily done. Easily done.
Okay. All right. So where were we? I lost track of my.
So if we ran another migration, it would show the next migration on there, and it's showing you what's applied. So this is really cool because you can set up your code to automatically run new migrations. And then if you wanted to check to see if that migration had actually been applied, you could go to this endpoint and see, yes, this migration was applied at this time. So I can see that being really beneficial as an easy way for someone to monitor the application and see what's happening and whether new updates had been applied. And then I think you had you found an actual feature on the page that wasn't working, like that namespace one.
Yeah, so the loggers, it's supposed to show you a list of loggers, right? So let's go actually look at actuator, look at the loggers endpoint itself, and see it shows you all of the default loggers available. Like, so this
Okay.
is showing, so there's something wrong with that sample where either it got too big and it's not showing it, or there's something wrong with our demo sample. So let me try. Oh no, that was a link, right? So there was an actual loggers page, and then I would expect this, say maybe say default and say search, it should show something, I think, because that's what it's trying to do. So we can try and debug this right now.
Let's give it a go.
Okay. I have not done this recently.
That's all right. We can figure it out together. So if that was coming through.
So here's the loggers view. And so it simply has, where's the search box for this?
I can't see that. I'm going to have a look on my code one locally.
Yeah, it's kind of too big, isn't it?
Right, I'll let you shrink it a little bit, but only a little bit.
This is perfect for me. It says initialize logging, right?
So you're in views. Is it a page view logging? I can see on line 21, there's a search filter in there.
So there's some TypeScript code happening here.
Yes. Sorry,
Um,
sorry. You said TypeScript. Ew,
do
that's
you
far
not
too
like
close to
TypeScript?
JavaScript.
I have not done any front end work like recently, so um,
All right, so I can see we've got on line 21, there is this search filter box. Let's go, and we've got
so
an
first of all, I don't think this is happening. So let's go look at the log view service. Maybe set a breakpoint there. Where is the log view service? So where's that coming from? Oh, this is
so
all JavaScript. It's not actually. Um,
yeah, I saw that. We've got this initialize. Again, look in the logging functions.
log.
I found
Log.
in logging functions.ts, we have the search filter, and that's getting it, but it's not really actually.
So there's a logging view service. Okay, did you already find that? So
No,
here's.
I've just got into it now.
So see, I've never seen the sample before, and I've been for like forever. So I guess it's good to know that this exists.
Yeah, I didn't know this was in here either. And I've been using a lot of Blazor of late, so I've been avoiding JavaScript altogether.
There's
So
log service. So how does log service get made?
complex stuff.
Until you've until you know where it's coming from, and then it's not that complex anymore.
No, once you figure it out, it's
First of
okay.
all, where are these files? I'm not seeing them on my left-hand side.
They're all in the www root.
In JavaScript. Okay.
There you go.
There's a logger service.
And
Actuator/loggers. So we know that the actuators are working fine because we saw them.
yeah,
So there's something wrong with this JavaScript code here.
that's line
And
number 5.
so it's saying when you get this, fetch actuators, then take the response, and then resolve whatever that is. So
You're in a different file from me. You're in the log service.
logger
I'm in
service,
the
yeah.
logging view service. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so the logging service has,
Let's go and have a look.
so it's getting different logger names. I wonder if we can, in the browser, set a breakpoint here.
I'm pretty sure we can, yeah.
Oh, look, there's a TypeScript tab. What was that? What just happened?
I didn't see
Oh, sorry. I thought that was part of the browser. All right. No, that is not the shortcut. Okay, more tools, developer tools. I thought I pressed Command Shift I, or
It's F12, isn't it?
is that on the Mac? Okay.
Yeah, it'll still be on the Mac. You get to
I'm
F12.
here. And let's just refresh this again and see what is happening. And network, yeah, let's look at the network traffic. It is looking at the wrong place, right? Like that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it this is so strange.
It's going page/logging, and it shouldn't be.
No, I think that was where. So this is the pay app, right? Okay, did I kill my? Yeah, it's still doing this. Okay, let's close this for a quick second and okay, make sure this is working. No, it's not working.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what just happened. I'm gonna just kill it and start over.
If in doubt, kill it. Yeah. The human mindset.
Yeah, I think definitely running these presentation tools, and I think kind of is taxing, and things are all of a sudden slow, and you don't know why, and that's why.
What's your presentation tool?
The browser, I think, is what.
Ah, the thing that we're running this in. Yes,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
StreamYard. Yeah.
I also have this weird template still to want to access.
Oh, don't type your password. Don't dox yourself. I'll take you off screen.
Wait, like you can't see it even if I do though.
Oh, just be sure. You never know. You never know.
Yeah. So that's what was happening. I was getting the security alert,
Yeah.
and that's what was like not responding. Okay, so good. We figured
Because
that out.
I had that on my Mac, and then you have to. There's a whole thing to get rid of that when it keeps
Always
happening.
allow, right? Always allow, maybe.
No, that didn't work for me. I had to. There was a whole thing I had to go and do, and delete whole security profiles. It was a painful process. So, are we there?
More tools, developer tools. I am doing Option Command I, and
Yeah, I see that.
why
That's
is
what your
this?
shortcut is.
Oh, it is working. Never mind. Anyway. All right, so now let's go back to the logging tool, and now you're seeing some errors. Okay, so this request has no response data. Why is that? So it basically is not able to get the JavaScript files.
How peculiar. Is it because they're not? Do we need to have include static files in the program, in the CS proj?
Yeah, might be. So content do not copy. Why not? Right?
Yeah.
Unless
Let's
copy if newer, yeah.
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's have a look.
So let's save this, and
How many times will it ask you to enter your password now, Hananiel?
I don't think it will. I said always allow. So the backstory is I got a new Mac, and I didn't set it up to use because I depend on my Windows machine most of the time. So this is not something I do normally, and that's kind of why there's like more glitches.
It doesn't matter whether I've set up my Mac or not. There are always glitches with it. All right,
So that did not. That wasn't it.
But if you go to sources up there, just one tab over from network.
Yeah.
And then go, yeah, we're not seeing any JS scripts. So it's not bringing over the JS.
Maybe it didn't save my changes, right?
Interesting. Yeah. If you go to the CS proj, so edit the right click on Steeltoe.actuators and edit the CS proj. And then, yeah, so it's
copy to preserve US. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is set to do it now.
I'll set it to always then. Let's just try it.
I'm wondering if I'm editing a different project than I'm running because I'm out here, right?
So let's go and see where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. So let's look at this guy. Okay.
That looks right.
Okay. Oh, the other thing might be the browser might be caching stuff. That's always something.
Okay, yeah. So right, but I would have thought, if you right click on that, it might bring it up as well. I still don't see JavaScript on the right there. Is it because it's
Uh,
TypeScript and we need to transpile
maybe
it?
we're probably doing this wrong. I think there is a middleware that serves static content.
Go program. Oh, sorry, startup on this one. Startup. And then scroll down. Is it app? It's got app.use static files there.
Static
So
files, yeah.
that's that one. But they're TypeScript, which makes me think, do we need to be doing something to them to make sure that they're included?
Good question.
Because I would have thought we'd need to transpile those into JavaScript. Because I've not done anything with TypeScript since .NET Framework.
Yeah, me either. I think I last looked at TypeScript like 5 years ago.
Yeah, likewise. I think it was in 2017 I did it. I wrote a lot of TypeScript in 2017, and I know that I had to use Gulp to write it. So that's saying compile and save ES6.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's look at the properties on this. This is not content, is it? But it's not like anything related to. But I guess it is content because it has nothing to do with the C# compiler.
Yeah. So I guess I saw that. Well, we may have to see how we build this offline and see if we can get that working, and then update the README so that folks who come and bring this up know what they need to do. And there is nothing in the README, is it? Are we being daft and missing something in the README? Let me have a look.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Let's go and see the README instructions for building and running each app. So let me go into all actuators, and that one doesn't have a README. So there we go. That needs to have a README added.
No, I see.
As well.
Do you not see this README? There is a README, except it doesn't have.
Oh, it's inside the project. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That obviously needs to be updated then.
I wonder if it works inside Docker. So let's look at the Docker file and see what it's doing. Where's the Docker file?
I thought you said this one was broken. Oh, no, there's not. I'm looking at the Docker Compose. Does it not have a Docker file?
I guess if it doesn't need anything, then...
Yeah.
Well, how is this going to get built without a Docker file? Yeah, I don't, unless there's a Docker folder. Yeah, this is completely busted.
Yay! Okay, so we have found a.
Of course, Layla, you're gonna find the one that's broken, right?
But that's the whole point. We want to find these broken ones and then fix them. So we know now. Pop it in the notes that this one needs a little bit of fixing, and then hopefully on the next episode we can show it running and fixed, or maybe a viewer will feel like getting stuck in and fixing the sample and showing us how to do the TypeScript, and then we can move on to another example of something and have a go.
Or we can just use this sample and look at things that are working in it, because that it's just a logic that's broken, so we can continue to look at.
Oh, we can totally continue to look at it.
Yeah,
and we have 5 minutes left of the show, so let's go and check out. Is this, you said this was the info, this app settings, right?
Yeah. So you remember the app?
Yeah.
JSON, and we were talking about that earlier about these settings.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're looking at. And of course, if you do that, you do have to, at the moment, recompile it. We're working on some things that it'll automatically refresh.
That's interesting because I'm doing a lot at the moment looking at external configuration, and if there was, things that could update from environmental settings or something like that without having to do a rebuild, that would be very cool. And there it
Yeah,
is, app setting
yeah.
foo.
And you also have other, for example, the Steeltoe version info, the build
Yeah.
info that's automatically added for you.
So you
Um,
can augment that
yeah,
info. Now, I know on Spring you can write a custom actuator. Is that something that you can do on
yeah.
Steeltoe?
Right now, like we can do a custom contributor, for a custom info contributor, and I wonder if we already have an example of that in the let's see, startup. Yeah, so I think we can go in here. Let's add a singleton. Let's me remember what the interface we need to implement is. Let's go look at the docs.
Always.
And go look at info, management, info. And so here's an example of
Okay.
contributor. So let's kind of paste that in to where do you want to put that? I'll just add it in here.
Yeah, just put it in there so we can see it as a class. It doesn't need to be on its own, does it?
Yeah, so what did I do here? Okay. So we have an arbitrary info contributor, and so let's add that as an I info contributor. And
Yeah.
see,
Okay.
and see what that does. My level of confidence is going down here.
It's fine. This is what live coding does to you, Hananiel. It's all good.
Things that should work, that work all the time, and all of a sudden you're on a screen. And
it's fine. It's fine.
all right, let's see what that did. Where is my browser?
So then we should be able to go info and then arbitrary. Oh, is it going to bring it up in here? Oh. There it is at the top.
Yep. So they got some arbitrary values. So that's how you add a custom. Yeah, you also have the ability to add an entirely new actuator.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit more involved. Like you have to inherit from like the I endpoint. Or what? So there are some abstract classes. I'm kind of confused because I just busted that up with 4.0 recently and completely changed how that all works. So in the old version, you'd have to create. So let's maybe look at the source code, right, and look at what an actuator looks like.
Okay.
So how much time do we have?
I have a hard stop in 10 minutes. So
Okay.
we have 10 minutes.
We can look at maybe the info actuator. So we can look at management. Yeah. And you have endpoints. And inside there, you have the info endpoint. Now, we're also looking at the main version, which is not the 3.x line. But it hasn't changed yet. So like we can look at, so it's implementing, for example, where's the there is a middleware, there's the endpoint, and we use so the middleware calls the endpoint. So like the middleware, something calls it invoke async, and it knows which endpoint this particular is an endpoint of type of a dictionary of string comma object, which is basically a dictionary that's being displayed to you in JSON. And so you can basically, in order to implement your own middleware, you would do something like that, my custom middleware, which is a type of endpoint middleware and foo type, like what it returns. And you can also, in some places where if you have a model that you're parsing from the request, then you'd put that in as well. An example of that may be the uh, loggers actuator. So if you look at the loggers endpoint or middleware, doesn't matter. So you have the loggers middleware, which we inherit from, and it's like a loggers change request. That is
Okay.
the input, and this is the output. So that's how you would do it. So you'd implement this interface or implement this inherit from this type, and then you would need a loggers endpoint that will inherit from abstract endpoint or this abstract endpoint, if it lets me get there. Sure. Here's the abstract endpoint. Implement. No, not. We went to the wrong project. So there happens to be an abstract endpoint in the integration project, but if you look at the one in this project, so it should be.
In that abstractions at the top.
It
Oh no,
could
that's
be,
a different project. Yeah.
no. That it could be. Yeah, it is there. And so it is I endpoint and has the I endpoint interface. So
Which
if
is
you
from the
implement,
framework, right?
yeah,
I
so
endpoint. Yeah.
there's some very basic. It's basically reflected out of the options. Some very basic implementation of the abstract endpoint, and then you either can choose to use that or directly implement this I endpoint interface and do this all this stuff yourself. And that's how you would go about creating a custom actuator.
Well, so maybe we could do that on the next episode. We can get that example working with the TypeScript, and we could maybe add a custom endpoint to the sample to show off. That could be maybe, and then add that to the docs a little bit. Well, we got it in the docs, but point to that example in the docs. And that seems like a cool thing to do on our next episode. What do you think?
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
we can do that. Do you have an idea of what a good custom actuator endpoint feature would be?
I will think of one.
Yeah, or maybe if somebody's watching this later, and they can add it to the comments.
Yeah, let us know. So I guess we can call it there, Hananiel. I think that was so much fun. I definitely learned stuff. We uncovered features, definitely. Features, we uncovered quite a few of those, which was our intention.
Yes.
So we can get some of those fixed, and I think we found some good things to update on the samples, just to make using the library easier and easier every time. So I guess, yeah, let us know in the comments down below what you would like to see, what that custom endpoint you want Hananiel to implement next time. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Have you enjoyed it, Hananiel? Did you enjoy a bit of
Yes.
live coding, the
Except,
stress of it all?
I wasn't stressed, but I wish I remembered a little bit more about TypeScript and how, the problem with TypeScript though is there's a million ways like to set things up,
Yes.
right? Like you can have a million tool chains, and so it's anybody's guess when you go into a new project how that's been set up. So yeah, other than that, I think I enjoyed it.
Yay! Alrighty.
About that, yeah.
I don't know when the next episode is going to be, folks, but keep an eye on the Steeltoe Twitter handle, which is Steeltoe OSS, and keep an eye out. We might add this onto tansy.tv and schedule things there. And yeah, thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. And yeah.
And thank you, Layla.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. Hananiel, you stay here. Don't go anywhere. Just stay. But we'll see everybody else next time.